Well, so this video is mainly for the people who are wondering how the art supply box thing came out. And for those who didn't see the previous video, I had this big, long box, this long, full of art supplies, or at least that's what I thought I had. I was going to see what I could make of it. These were things that I mostly hadn't used in at least 5 years. And it turned out there were two main things of value in this box. There were the brushes and fabric paints. I had way more of both than I realized, but those fit in this much smaller box here. So that's a tenth of the size of the original box. And then the sketchbooks. So here's a sketchbook, another one, and there's another one that I've already placed somewhere else, but these did not even need to be in the box because they're basically books. They're sketch pads and sketchbooks, but they're basically books and they can go directly on a shelf and they're more useful to me that way. So that's the main value of what I had. There were a lot of pencils, and I decided I didn't need to keep any pencils. And there were some other things, crayons. I like to have crayons even if I don't use them very often because they're useful in sketching out certain kinds of things. I had a bag full of supplies, and this is actually not the whole thing, for rubber stamp things. So I had stamp pads and some rubber stamps, and that whole style of art seems archaic to me now, so I don't think I'll keep any of that, but some of these are unopened and I'm going to hold on to them and see if I can think of a way to donate them. It's not easy to donate art supplies of most kinds unless you know an art teacher or an artist. But I think stamp pads, there might be a place for them to go. I had my 2 empty bags here in case I was throwing a bunch of things away and I ended up not using them. And then there's some interesting things here. This was a fun idea I got at a discount store. Design a mug kit. It is not quite what I thought. I'm going to pull it out, but this is a mug. It's basically a chalkboard, and then there's some chalk to go with it, but you could use any chalk. And the point is, go ahead and write a message or make a work of art is what they're suggesting on your mug. And I'm thinking, what would I use chalk for on a mug? But maybe there's something. So I'm going to take this to the kitchen and see if I can find a use over the next week or two for a mug, and maybe I can find a lid for it and actually use it as a container. So maybe I can put things in the refrigerator and label them using the chalk. I don't know. That's worth trying. So there were a lot of other things. There was a paint by numbers kit where I had painted 5% of a jungle picture, and I'm never going to finish that. So I threw that away. There were a number of other things I threw away. There's a lot of things that I would consider to be office supplies, and I haven't sorted those out yet, but those are sitting right here for me to sort out next. So that is how that comes out, and the important thing is this is a much smaller box than the one I started with. It won't take up so much space on the shelf. And there are a couple of other things that still remain in the original category of art supplies, and that are basically the oil pastels and the charcoal. And I will need to find a container for those. But it's funny to think that I had this enormous box. I mean, it was this long and this high, and had been sitting, using a third of a shelf, using up a lot of space for what I thought was a general purpose, a collection of things. And that collection ultimately is really just this: 4 kinds of charcoals, one set of pastels, which I want to keep for whatever design or idea work I might use with them, but it's obviously a much smaller thing than what you would think when you saw the original box. And what was the box filled up with? I'd thrown some of the things away, so I can't account for what all the things were, but it was basically a full box. And now I have what looks like a much smaller set of things. And that often happens with clutter clearing, where you think you have something of value and it takes up a certain size, and when you take a closer look, it's really something much smaller. So that's it for this clutter clearing story. I may very well have some more stories soon. It is a holiday weekend after all. Holiday weekends are sometimes the best times to do these large clutter clearing things, because you can shake that energy off when the weekend is over. But then one more thing here. I'm going to do an energy cleanse for all of this stuff that I just pulled out of this box. Some of it's from various places given to me by various people. And it's all had a long history. So it's good to take a moment to do an energy cleanse on that kind of level when you're going through this kind of assortment of stuff. So thanks for watching. I'll see you again soon.